how the number of abandoned kittens in Oxfordshire has risen over the last few months. But it's a problem with other pets too. The number of dogs abandoned in the county has doubled, with a particular problem area with puppies and young dogs. Well, to tell me more, I'm joined by Anna Osborne, who's in the studio with me from the British Canet Corso Society. We'll find out more about them in just a minute. Along with Poppy Dizzy, who's sitting to the left of me over there, being very quiet. Also Ryan O'Meara from Canine on the line. Ryan, thanks ever so much for coming on the programme. Let's start with you. Why do we have this problem of so many abandoned dogs?
I think it's cultural in that we have obviously always had people that have had to make use of our brilliant rescue and welfare system, but the absolutely massive rise, I think, is more to do with the irresponsible production and supply of dogs, in that there's basically so many people now who just have no regard for the long-term welfare of the animals that they produce. And secondly, this throwaway society that we live in, where people get a dog and then, for whatever lifestyle reason, and in many cases they are perfectly justified, but in an awful lot more, I don't think they are justified. I mean, I'm talking about people that give their dog to shelter because they're going on holiday, and then when they come back, they go and get another dog. Now, you might think that sounds like an extreme, but that is happening quite a lot. So there's a general kind of lack of care on behalf of some of the people who are producing dogs willy-nilly, and unfortunately the people that they are prepared to supply dogs to are very often just not cut out to be dog owners, full stop. And sadly, what we also have is this paradox where people look at the rescue system that we have and think, well, the rescue system will be able to find a new home for my dog. And so very often people create this justification in their mind that giving the dog up is going to be good for the dog, but what they're not factoring in is that that dog is now going to go into a system that is absolutely full to the brim and will be competing with many, many thousands of other dogs to find a new home. So sadly, I think it's a double-edged sword. You have the people that just aren't really that bothered, and then the people who genuinely think putting the dog into rescue for rehoming is going to provide a solution.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. In a way, then, a rescue centre is doing themselves a disservice by sort of saying that they will take abandoned pets, because it seems so much easier for people who do want to get rid of their pets to just hand them over.
Yeah, catch-22 really, in that we need the rescues, clearly, because of the fact that there are so many dogs being produced, but on the other hand, there are people who are using that as a crutch to just simply pass the burden off, pass their responsibility off onto a system that really is at breaking point. And the issue is, we have to crack down on the people who are supplying these dogs, because rescue is, of course, not creating the problem. It's the people who produce the dogs who are creating the problem. They are adding to the numbers of dogs in rescue. And secondly, this cultural thing where people give dogs up for some of the weakest reasons that you will ever hear. I think if they were genuinely challenged with the idea of, look, if you give that dog up, that dog is going to get put down, they might actually do the work and put the effort in to look after that dog. Some wouldn't, unfortunately. Some people just aren't that bothered. So this is part of the reason why we launched National Dog Adoption Month with the intent of explaining to people that actually adopting a dog is a good thing, so that tackles the problem from getting dogs out, but also trying to help people who may be struggling with a dog and thinking of giving it up, when in reality that the problems that they're facing could very easily be overcome with just some good guidance.
You mentioned about breeders there. I mean, what is the situation at the moment? Because anybody who owns a dog can breed from it, can't they?
Absolutely, and it really is cowboy country in that there are some very, very good breeders out there, and obviously we need people who are breeding dogs. That's not in dispute, but the volume of people who are breeding dogs irresponsibly is shocking. And again, you will meet people who still believe the myth that a female dog should have a litter of puppies, and they still believe that. So obviously that message hasn't gone down there, but the lack of regulation means that people do just genuinely look at their dog and think, well, if I knock a litter of puppies out, and they sell them for cash as well, so this is largely going completely unmonitored by any kind of audit trail, they're thinking, well, it's an easy way to get £300-400, and those are the dogs who
Ryan, thank you ever so much for coming on the programme today. I want to bring in as well Anna, who's in the studio with me, along with gorgeous puppy, who I looked at and said when he came in, I said, he's not a puppy, is he? And he's six months old. Anna, good morning. You're from the British Canet Corso Society.
That's
now,
right, yes.
Up until this point, I'd never heard of this particular breed of dog.
They are a very, very rare breed, unfortunately starting to turn up more and more in rescue in greater and greater numbers. People are taking on the breed because it's rare, because it's interesting. Echoing Ryan, they see the dogs advertised and think, I can make a bit of money out of that. Chuck 2 dogs together and you end up with a situation like Dizzy and his brothers and sisters, who were surrendered to Battersea Dogs Home as a whole litter that couldn't be sold.
A whole litter?
Yep.
And how many were in the litter?
There were 5. One of the dogs suffering from a grade 5 heart murmur, so she was very, very sick. His brother's suffering from a disability, he's also very, very sick. So they've chucked 2 dogs together, thought they could make some cash, and now we've got 6-month-old puppies who've never been socialised, and luckily through the brilliant relationship we have with Battersea Dogs Home, are now being treated, going out into foster care in the community, learning that the world's a brilliant place, and hopefully will go on to homes that understand them.
So are you seeing that the problem that we've been talking about with Ryan this morning, that's being replicated from the work you do as well?
Absolutely. We're seeing more and more breeding bitches being discarded after they've had, a couple of litters, they've done their job, and the people want to move on and breed more and more dogs. So we're not just getting the puppies, we're getting the mothers, we're getting the grandmothers. I'm dealing with a 9-year-old dog at the moment who was dumped after 3 litters because she'd served her time, she'd gone blind. The people obviously didn't want to have the expense of caring for her anymore, so now that's passed on to us. So it goes from the very, very young to the very, very old.
It must be, on a positive note, easier to rehome puppies than it is older dogs?
It is easier in that you get a lot more interest. Sites like Dogs Blog are fantastic, and we get really, really quality inquiries from them. Puppies are easier in the first instance, but teaching people about a breed like the Corso, which is a very specialist breed, a very large breed, a very powerful breed, they really do have to go to the right homes, which is why the relationship that we have with rescues all over the country, especially Battersea in London, they know that rehoming these little guys from kennels is not the ideal situation. They really do need to be in specialist care with people who understand the problems and the quirks that they have.
So what's the situation with Dizzy then? Because Dizzy's quite a large dog for 6 months old. How much bigger is he going to get?
Dizzy could, I haven't seen his parents obviously, but Dizzy could grow to be about 12 stone and standing about the size of a Shetland pony.
Good grief. So what's his fate now then? What's the situation with him?
He's going to be fostered with Ruth and Mark, who are here with us. He needs some really serious socialisation. Like I say, this litter, as far as we're aware, hadn't left the house for 6 months. It's really critical with young puppies that they're out and about socialising, getting to learn about the world around them. So they're doing that a bit late, but they're like little chicks. They've come out of the egg. They're having a fantastic time with Ruth. They're learning about the world. She'll then prepare them to go on into a forever home, and hopefully they'll live a long and happy life with someone who really cares about them.
So just going back to the original point, is it down then to the fact that there are more dogs around to be rehomed or to be homed in the first place, or is it down to the fact that there are the same number of dogs around but people's attitudes towards them are changing and thinking that they're a disposable commodity now?
We have some fantastic stories about reasons that dogs have been abandoned. One of the charities I work with, Large Breed Dog Rescue, had a Rottweiler surrendered because it didn't go with the new colour scheme in the house. That's how sad the situation is. Of course there are some genuine reasons and some really tragic reasons. We've had a couple of dogs from Battersea where the owners have passed away, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done about that. But yes, the situation with certain breeds like the Staffy, I find it incredible that people are still breeding Staffordshire Bull Terriers at the moment willy-nilly. They've become like the McDonald's of dogs. You take one on, you chuck it away again. Most Staffies that are in the system are on their 3rd or 4th home.
What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see people taking more care, matching a dog to their lifestyle. If you really must buy a puppy, get to know your breeder. Learn the health tests that your breed should have. Canet Corso are a giant breed. They have hip problems. Has the breeder hip schooled the parents? Learn about the health tests for your breed. Learn about the temperament. Learn about the energy levels. People buy Jack Russells because they're small and they think they fit into a 1-bedroom flat. You're dealing with a terrier that could run for 2 or 3 hours a day and still not be tired. So learn about the energy level of your dog and how it fits into your lifestyle. Don't choose an animal on how it looks. Having a husky in a one-bedroom flat, fantastic. You've got a beautiful husky dog, but are you going to take that dog out for 2 or 3 hours a day and give it the exercise that it needs?
Anna, it's been lovely to meet you. Thank you ever so much for coming in, and thank you for bringing Dizzy in as well. I'm going to come round and have a bit of a stroke in a minute.
Cuddle.
He's gorgeous, he really is. Thank you very much indeed. 16 minutes past 11.